Damn. Yeah.
All right, I am back. You did not see a vlog last week, and some of you didn't see one the week before, even though most of you probably did. I had a video up that ultimately did about 10,000 views, and then YouTube said it was taking it down, apparently for my use of a single word, which, needless to say, I'm not going to repeat here. But that was just the latest chapter in what has been the most painful stretch of poker of my career. You may ask, did things turn for you over the past couple of weeks? And my answer probably is, yeah, they turned. They got even worse. Probably the most memorable hand was a bomb pot, which I know I continue to hate and occasionally find myself in, where I flop a set on one board. A guy basically blasts out with an open-ended straight draw on that same board. The other board was all diamonds and he didn't have anything going on there. And of course he manages to not only hit his straight on the board where I have my set, he hits a fucking pair of fours on the other board to beat my pair of deuces. So I lose about $1,000 pot there. And if this were a vlog about bad beat stories, I would just continue running them down for you, because they're racking up. Vlog 311. Let's hope I don't get all mixed up and this vlog isn't some sort of beautiful disaster. This video would come your way from Reno, Nevada, a place where Evander Holyfield once fought Henry Tillman in 1987. Holyfield won in a 7th round knockout. Am I telling you this because I always knew it? Or maybe because I just recently found out? We shall never know. I did interview Evander once though, and he was a great guy. Before I even pulled out my iPhone 13 mini that I used to vlog on, I would look down at Wayne Gretzky. Middle position limps, and I raised to 30 on the button. The small blind would snap call. So with 100 in, the flop comes out Jack 8-7 with a couple of hearts, and it gets checked to me. With a pair and a straight draw, and being the pre-flop raiser, I figured this was a pretty good spot to make a continuation bet. I put in 60. The small blind snap calls me, which obviously was not a great sign. Turns out, he's a guy that gives a lot of action. Middle position goes out. So with 220 in, we're heads up to the turn, which rolls off a beautiful 10 of diamonds. Small blind checks, and this is a pretty good spot to bet big and get called by draws, or potentially still get paid off by top pair. I make it 150, and he doesn't take too long with it before making the call. So with 550 in, the river is the 4 of hearts. Obviously that's not ideal, but honestly, how many flush draws will he be calling 150 with on the turn? He does check it over to me. Is he the type to check raise? Maybe. I don't know the guy. The other concern is just the inability to get paid off nearly as wide now that the flush has come in. So with that in mind, I figured I would go for just $125 in value here, knowing that hands like Ace-Jack and King-Jack are no longer going to love paying me off nearly as much because the heart draw has come in. He does give this a little bit of thought before finally settling on a call, creating an $800 pot. I show my hand, and he mucks his. 10 minutes later, I'd play a hand against that lady who saw the flop with me in the previous hand. But there was a development. Her and SVA would play a big hand here where she would flop 3 sevens against SVA's aces. They got it all in. He asked if she wanted to run it twice. She said run it once. And the turn was an ace. So he would felt her right before she'd rebuy and play this hand against me. So you do kind of have to keep that in mind. I opened 35 under the gun with Ace-Jack of hearts. The low jack calls, and this unknown woman in the small blind comes in as well. So with 115 in, the flop was 9 deuce 3 with 2 hearts. She checks. Now, some of you may not know this, but that flop does present an opportunity for my hand to improve. And get this, my hand is even capable of improving to a hand that no other hand can beat. Are you writing this down? So, hoping that might happen, I bet out for 60. Obviously, I'm not opposed to just taking this pot down right now. I didn't really think that would happen, and sure enough it doesn't. Low jack folds, but the small blind, she grabs some chips and makes the call. So with 235 in, the turn is an offsuit 7. So I brick out, and then it gets kind of bizarre because she bets it. And it's kind of the quintessential blocker bet. She makes it 60. Now, Bart Hansen has talked about this over the years on the Crush Live Poker podcast, and that is that a lot of times when you get some of these recreational players that make these blocker bets, it's because, yes, they don't want to put more money in to see the river, but if you raise them, they will still call the raise. So it's just kind of like they don't want to put the money in, but they will if you force them. So is it a good spot to raise? Obviously, I don't even have a pair. And given the fact that she's likely on tilt, I just didn't think a semi-bluff was going to get the job done here. So with that in mind, I just call. And with 355 in, the river gives me the ace-high flush, but it does pair the board, bringing in the 7 of hearts. Good news was, I didn't figure that mattered here at all. She checks, and it's on me. Now, obviously, I was hoping that she would just bet out, and my assumption was if she had any sort of flush, that she would indeed bet out on the river here. So I had to consider the likelihood of other hands, and I thought that she might just be hanging on with a hand like 9-10. So can I get paid off by that, and what amount can I get? I didn't think it was going to be a ton, though the truth is it probably was more than I bet. At the time, I figured 150 was about the max I could get out of a hand like that, though in hindsight, I probably could have gotten 100 more. She gives this about 10 seconds worth of thought before making the call, creating a $655 pot, which obviously we're going to win as she mucks. Tell you, hitting draws. It's recommended in poker. I just wish someone had taught me how to do that back in January. I would look up to see Denzel Clark's absolutely ridiculous catch with the A's in Anaheim. What a beast that guy is. And I can see it now. Strained pun headlines saying, Denzel, man on fire. Denzel, he's out there equalizing in center field. Anyway, they'd show the greatest center field robberies of all time, with Gary Matthews predictably being number 1 on that list. I always find myself rooting for the guy who gets robbed in those situations to come back up the next time and hit one 100 feet over the wall and actually stop and say, how about you catch that one too? I'd also look at Instagram, and I just hate it how they are so smart. They know exactly what ads will tempt you. Because, damn it, I do want this shirt. I would then lose back 150 with pocket jacks when the game's loosest player flopped a flush on me, which I certainly did not appreciate. And then we get a pair of limps. And an OMC in the small blind tosses in an extra $5. I have 9 7 of hearts in the big blind and check my option. So with $40 in, we get a flop of ace 8-3 with 2 hearts. Now, I know that a bet here is unlikely to win the pot right away, but I'd rather bet and get called than have to check call myself. So I make it 20. I get called by the button and the small blind. So with 100 in, the turn is an offsuit 6, giving me an open-ender. Small blind checks. I figure I have to bet relatively big here to have a chance. And obviously, if I get called, I should have a mountain of equity. The button folds immediately, but the small blind, a man who knows his way around a welding shop, is firmly attached here. So with 270 in, the river is a complete brick, leaving me with 9 high, and the small blind checks. So what is the play here against an OMC type? Before you answer, I will tell you that this is a guy who does slow play hands often. The way I see it, if he does have a big ace, or obviously better than that, which he could have, he's not going to fold no matter how much I bet here. But if he has a bigger missed draw, I just can't let him win with a hand like King High. And remember, he just limped in pre-flop, as did everyone else. On the reason I was in this hand, a hand that I didn't even VPIP. So I bet 110 in this spot. And I would feel sick when he didn't snap fold, knowing that that was going to mean he was not going to fold at all. He puts in the chips, creating a $498 pot, which obviously I'm losing. And it was the old limp in with ace-king and check it all 3 times scenario. You've got to love it. Good news is I didn't bet more because he was never folding even for his whole stack, I do not believe. I thought that he would play at least another hour after that, but no. The hit and run would be immediate. One of 2 hit and runs in that exact same seat on the day, though the other one was much more painful for another player in this game. The only time on the day I would pick up a bigger starting hand than jacks would be, fittingly, when there was no pre-flop action allowed. I would end up losing $100 in that bomb pot, when an ace would hit on the flop on one board and the river on another, and an OMC who absolutely despises me would be the one to win it, and I don't think anything could have made him happier. I then saw a classic poker tweet by Neil Farrell. Bust the 25K just before first break, bluffing it off. Good news is it was solver approved, so I should be getting my refund any minute now. Whether or not I made any solver approved plays over the next 2 hours, I know that it was a grind. There were just no big pots that I could get involved in to vlog. It was just a lot of small victories and a few small losses. But you know what? If I am going to dig out of this hole, I am going to have to embrace that grind. Shout out Johnny Vibes, because it's not going to come from just 2 monster sessions and all of a sudden I'm back. It's going to come from a bunch of small wins, like this one. All right, not going to talk long in this outro video because it is windy, and it does not appear that this Cybertruck parked next to me is blocking out any of that wind. Kind of a grindy session, but still a winning one, up $399. I expect to have at least one more interesting hand to talk about this week, and let's do that right now. So the most consequential hand of this week would come playing 5-10, 5-handed. One chess player who will give me no action, one actual professor who often gives me more action than I'm looking for, and 2 players who give the optimal amount of action. Not surprisingly, this hand would take place against one of them. It folds to me on the button, pocket kings. I raise to 30, obviously wanting action here, and sure enough, I'd get it. Big blind would make the call. So at 65 in, we're heads up to queen, jack 5 with 2 spades. And the big blind doesn't check to me, but rather leads out for 40. Obvious value raise spot here. We talk about how a lot of guys will try the blocker bet play, but will still call a raise despite the fact that their optimal scenario was to see the turn cheaper. I go a little bit over 3x with this and make it 125. And he doesn't even think about it for more than 2 seconds and snap calls. So at 315 in the pot, the turn is the 6 of spades. So front door flush draw does get there, but I do have the redraw with my 2 black kings, and he checks. I hate just checking this back. I know this particular opponent, and he's just going to have a lot of queen X hands defending the big blind that could have weaker spades in them, so I could have his pair and his flush draw dominated. That is 100% on the table with this guy. So I want to keep those hands in. I bet 175, leaving me 425 behind should I get called and would go to the river. And once again, I get snap call. So it's 665 in. The river is the king of diamonds, giving me top set. As I am thinking about what to do with it, the big blind doesn't give me any options. He just ships all in. Now, he has me covered barely in this instance, so it's 425 now to win 1,065. Knowing this opponent, I think it's possible that he would actually do this with king, queen, or king, jack here. Now, obviously, there's only one king left in the deck, but it is possible. It's also not out of the realm of possibility that he could have smaller sets and decided to play it this way. I didn't think that was overly likely, but it is one thing that could be happening. But truth be told, I hated this. This felt like I was going to be beat the majority of the time here. Wasn't exactly sure which way. Truth be told, my exact gut instinct in terms of the hand he had proved to be the exact hand he did have. But, I mean, do I really wait until I've made a set of kings to fold the kings? Given the pot odds involved, I certainly think there's an argument to make this call. I thought about it for about a minute, giving serious consideration to folding, but I didn't. The pot is $1,490, and I could not have been less surprised to see him table 9-10 offsuit with no spade. The only street on which I was behind was the street on which I made top set. A microcosm of 2025 poker on this vlog. Ah, damn it. I should have folded that damn hand. There's just no two ways about it. The more I think about it, I just hate the fact that I called that. Again, part of this is player dependent. A lot of people love to make calls. This guy is Grand Central Station. Okay, there was just, he's going to call too light, and then if he does end up going all in, that's when he's going to have the monster. It just is clear that things have not been going my way this year because I should have made that fold. And it was a $1,000 loss on that day. I opted not to rebuy. The good news was the day after, I got into a 5-10 game at about that same time, played until 6 p.m., and booked a $900 win. So getting all but 100 of it back the following day. And you saw what I did in the vlog that aired just now. So it's a small, very small winning week. So we'll take that. Now, I am taping this section of the vlog, even though you're not watching it on it. I am taping this section on June 13th. Hence why I'm rocking the Golden Knights jersey, because they won the Stanley Cup exactly 2 years ago on this day, June 13th, the greatest day in the history of Nevada sports. And I'm not here for any other arguments on that one. Even though I didn't go to the game, I know that I will still never have a better memory as a sports fan than that night, sitting here watching the game with my son. It was an earlier start than most games are, so he was able to stay up through the whole game watching it with me. 9-3 the win, which we have now dubbed the hand. 9-3 as game 5 as a result of that.
The silver trophy to the Golden Knights.
If I'm ever like just sitting at a poker game and I'm on tilt, I can still pull up these videos that Scott Bean sent me from his seats in section 6 that night, and it makes me feel a little bit better. And you know Scott Bean isn't just a season ticket holder, he's a true fan, because he could have sold the tickets to that game for a boatload of money. But he wanted to be there and experience it that night. And I felt like I was experiencing it along with him when he was sending me those videos. So June 13th, great day. Game 5, 9-3. What can you say? I'm talking about it here, and that's all there is to it. That'll wrap things up for us on this edition of the vlog. If you have not already, hit the like and subscribe buttons. You can also follow along on Instagram at bendeach. We'll see you back here next time.
Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud, never running out, never heading south. I'll be spreading out, call it word of mouth, can't put me down, I'll be getting loud. You can have it douse, not what I'm about, have your fucking cloud. It be raining now, I keep making sound, go another round, bitch I'm legend bound, can't stop me now. You don't wanna fuck with me, a slow burn.